Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about track consumables, specifically the front brakes on a Camaro ZL1 or Camaro ZL1 1LE. The brake system, or brake consumables, can be the second most expensive track car consumable after tires. And so you really want to maximize performance and durability and cost to get the most out of your track day budget. In this video, we'll be going over the heavy-duty brake system with the code J6H. There's another brake system called BCD, which is the copper-free version that came on some California cars. That what's in this video may not apply there. We're in the workshop today, and we've got several of the most popular front rotor options for the Camaro ZL1 and Camaro ZL1 1LE. We've got the Factory Brembo. We've got a Girodisc with a aftermarket hat, and then we've got DBA, which is aftermarket rotor ring with a factory hat being reused with new hardware. So there are a few different factors that you want to consider when you're choosing which front rotor option is the best for you and your car and your purpose of use. So there's cost, obviously, weight, and then also durability and performance. So from a weight perspective, the Girodisc is the lightest rotor combination. It weighs 27.8 pounds. The next lightest is the factory rotor, which weighs 32.2 pounds. And the heaviest is actually the DBA, which weighs 34.2 pounds. The things that really lead to this weight discrepancy, even though the rotors are all the same external dimensions, both in thickness and in rotor diameter, but the Girodisc has a much larger center hat and has about a 65 millimeter pad to rotor contact. The factory and the DBA use a smaller hat, so you actually have a larger rotor ring inner diameter. So this is actually 80 millimeters pad contact area on the DBA in the factory. And so there's the hat weighs almost nothing. They're aluminum. So when you're talking about having a lot more metal for the rotor ring itself, it contributes to the weight difference. So this is the back side of the Girodisc and the back side of the DBA. You can see what I'm talking about in terms of the hat is so much larger and the actual ring inner diameter is much, much larger on the Girodisc, which contributes a lot to the weight difference. Also contributing to the weight difference, the thickness of the faces. So you can see here that thickness right there and the thickness right there compared to the DBA. The DBA, the faces are actually 1.5 millimeters thicker on each side, the back side essentially, because the overall thickness dimension is 36 millimeters on each side. This gap right here is only 16 millimeters on the DBA and is 19 on the Girodisc. So this could be a contributing factor to why there's more cracking potential on the Girodisc compared to the DBA. So this is the difference between the two pads. So the stock pad shape is used with the DBA because it has the stock hat. The oversized hat on the Girodisc requires a smaller pad. So the actual, as I said earlier, the pad surface contact with the Girodisc is only 65 millimeters because this radius is so much larger. So if you put this pad on DBA, you can see. So you're getting more pad contact, you're getting a physically larger pad when you're either running stock or you're running the DBA rotors. Obviously, cost is going to play a major factor into which consumables you choose, and that's going to be maybe even over performance. So the cheapest option is to replace your factory rotor rings with DBA and new hardware. That's $740 from K&S Brakes. The second most affordable option is just to get a brand new set of factory rotors. I priced them up at Rock Auto. They were $826. That comes with the hat and all the hardware. And then the most expensive is the Girodisc. If you're going to get them all a full setup with hats, that's $1,200. And after you make that initial investment, then it's $850 for rotor rings and hardware from K&S. So DBA is the heaviest but the cheapest option. The second most affordable option and the middle weight is the factory rotor. And then the most expensive option, but the lightest by far, is the Girodisc. So those dimensional differences between the two are the reason that the DBA rotor is 6.4 pounds per side heavier than the Girodisc. So how much does 12 pounds matter? It is unsprung mass and rotating mass. So that is the most favorable weight reduction that you can have in a race car. But at what cost? This is the 390 millimeter front right brake caliper and rotor on my Camaro ZL1 1LE. We replaced those at the beginning of last season. They still have pretty good thickness. The men thickness is 34 millimeters, they're at 35. The issue here is that apparently we've gotten a lot of this craze cracking, which is generally acceptable. It's getting pretty bad on this set of rotors. But the main issue is we've got multiple places where these cracks are actually slightly raised, and they're cracking all the way through the front face of the rotor. Craze cracking is okay. The only time you really need to replace rotors is when the minimum thickness goes below 34 millimeters, or if they start to get cracking that goes through the face of the rotor, or if you start to have converging cracking or split cracks that could possibly impact the integrity of the rotor, because the last thing you want is to be going at speed and you have a chunk of rotor come off. So with all this great information, what are we actually choosing? So we're going to go to DBA on all four corners of the car. And the main reason for that is cost and durability. We'll prove out over this season if durability plays out. But the reason I'm going away from the Girodisc is I can't really justify spending $850 on rotor rings that can't make it through an entire season. So I think the additional thickness and weight on the DBA will actually be a benefit in durability and not have these rotors essentially get discarded prematurely due to cracking. We'll see if that plays out. I've had very good luck running the factory rotors with factory pads. In fact, I had over 40 track days and they made it all the way to minimum thickness without any serious cracking. So I'm really trying to see how that's going to factor in running Hawk pads, because I'm running Hawk DTC 60 pads on all four corners, which are fairly hard on rotors. So we'll see how that plays out. But you've got three options. I've given you a lot of information. If you've got any other points or have questions, please put it in the comments below. There's also another video, and I'll put the card above, where I reviewed the rear brakes, the DBA versus Girodisc. So check that out as well if you're interested. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.